Hello, everybody. My name is Chanel Riggle. I am the founder and organizer of the second Mental Health and Motherhood Summit. I'm super excited to be here. I have a few speakers here from the summit today, and we are all here to talk to you about building a community that works for you, which is actually what my talk later today will also be about. It was a bit of a funny oversight that it was titled basically the same thing, but that's okay because I think it's a great topic and is one of the things I get asked a lot about as someone who kind of spontaneously put together a whole summit event out of my own frustrations and motherhood and my experiences trying to get mental health resources. So, we're going to go around and just briefly introduce ourselves, and then I have a couple questions. And if you'd like, you can just hop in or you can just raise your hand, and I can call on you and we can take turns. Susan knows how we did this yesterday. I think it worked out pretty well. Um, and then as people potentially join in the live call, they can also just add to the chat. So you guys are also free to interact with them that way. If you are watching the recording, welcome. You can still buy tickets to this summit. If you have any troubles at all, you can always reach out to us directly, and I'd be more than happy to help you. And there's various ways that you can watch the recordings, either up to a week or even up to a year. So please reach out to me. The goal is to bring moms to mental health resources by removing as many barriers as possible. So we offer replays because we want that time barrier to be reduced. And I also wanted to keep costs fairly low. So it's very important to me if you are struggling to access costs, please contact me. I'd love to help you. All right, so like I said, today we're going to be talking about building a community that works for you. And I'll go ahead and ask Bridget if she wants to start with a quick introduction.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Chanel. It's good to be with you all. My name is Bridget. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a perinatal mental health therapist. And I live in Savannah, Georgia. I have my own private practice here, and I work primarily with perinatal women and parents, so people in pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond. And so this is a lot of what I spend time with clients talking about is building community, finding community, especially when, the sort of obvious options for community are not available. So super important topic. I'm glad that you're focusing on it.
Thanks, Bridget. Susan, do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Susan Landers. I'm a retired neonatologist, and I keep busy in my retirement by writing the Moms Matter newsletter because I've been an advocate for moms, especially working moms, my entire career, and always champion for healthy babies, healthy mothers and babies. So, I participate in things like this because I think it's so important to have more than the current generational experience. I think it's important to have older, not necessarily wiser, but perspectives because things are really, really different for millennial and Gen Z moms. And sometimes some of the solutions come from the way things used to work in building community and connection. And so I feel like I have things to add from that perspective.
Thank you so much, Susan. And Amber, I'll go ahead and have you introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, my name's Amber. I'm a nurse, not currently working. I just had my third baby. She's 3 months old on Tuesday. Uh, don't blink. Um, I am also a military spouse, and so community is something that I am starting over every 2 to 3 years when we change orders. And we were stationed in Japan, and I kind of took there being no community whatsoever. Worked with an organization called Stroller Warriors, that was on the verge of, they were on the verge of shutting down that chapter because of all of the COVID restrictions in place in Japan, because we got there at the end of COVID. They weren't really able to have a lot of community meetups. And
Hmm.
so I took it from dead to thriving, with 16 moms showing up consistently at every workout. And here I've kind of done similar. I've realized through working with my therapist that community building is one of my gifts. So that's
Good.
why I wanted to jump on and be a part of this call, is building community is something I'm doing all the time
All the
because
time.
my community is either moving to their next duty station or we're moving to our next duty station. So, um, yeah, that's me.
Thank you so much for sharing that, all of you. And a little background on me. I usually just try to put the spotlight on everybody else. But my name is Chanel, and I came about organizing and founding this whole thing because I had a very serious postpartum depression and anxiety. And even though I thought I was prepared for potentially having those things because of my previous mental health experiences in my 20s, I was not prepared how different it was.
Mm.
I thought I was doing all the right things by letting people know, I'm nervous about giving birth. I'm nervous about depression systems coming back, symptoms. And it wasn't for at least having one mom friend who just, I don't want to say became a thorn in my side, but she just didn't care about the the excuses I was making. She just very kindly and lovingly and kind of forcefully was like, "Come over to my house." And I go, "Oh, well, I don't know. I'm really not feeling up to it, or I haven't showered." And she just didn't care. And she said, "Just come sit on my couch. Come sit in my yard. Let the kids do whatever, like roll around in the grass, like whatever." And if it wasn't for her helping me find a different way to discover a mom community, things would have been so much worse.
Mm.
She didn't ask me to make a bunch of new mom friends. She really didn't ask much of me except come be present in my life. And that has made such an impact. And so now, as time has gone on, I decided I wanted to interview moms through Substack. I'm like, I don't have a podcast. I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to know, like, how is everybody else building community? Especially, I think it was in at the end of 2021 where like the pandemic was over, but not really. Everyone was just so shell-shocked and no one was going over to people's houses. And I just kept wanting to ask more and more, like, what are you guys doing? And so, and now we're here. So I'm super excited that we can all just come together and share the knowledge that we have. I have a couple questions. And the first one is that, community and motherhood looks different in different seasons. And, some people will say like there's a postpartum season, but really there's so many different. I like saying like there's a four trimester and then like everything is postpartum. It just
Right.
changes. I'd
Postpartum.
love to know from each of you how your need for community or even the definition of community has changed for each season and what might have surprised you. Does
Mm.
anybody want to start with that question?
I can speak to that a little bit. I have two kids who are 8 and 11, and I was working as a therapist when I had them, but I had not yet, well, with my first, I had not yet started to specialize in maternal mental health or perinatal. And I kind of similar to you, Chanel, like I had a lot of reasons why I couldn't, stay connected with my community. I mean, I was really struggling. I was very depressed and I really withdrew. And it was a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy that I really kind of like took myself out of the community that I needed. And then there just was none really left there for me as I kind of continued into motherhood. And when my youngest was born, I decided to start a postpartum support group for moms in my
Mm.
city because there was not one there. And, it's been great. It's like been wonderful for the moms who come through it. But I actually feel like it ended up being the community for me that I needed almost like retroactively. Just getting to see these moms connect with each other, build these relationships, come out and support each other from like a totally judgment free, open space. Um, there were aspects of like offering that out to others in my community that then really helped me heal from my own challenges, from my own experience, but also just like from my own disconnection. Like
Mm.
they, I think, helped me see how vital that really is. Yeah.
Right.
I love that. One thing that I often think about too is like it's a lot easier to learn something when you take the perspective of teacher. And even though I'm not here to like really teach anybody anything, um, there's no degree in motherhood, unfortunately. My personality type, I would have definitely looked into that. Um, I think when I really hope moms realize that they can create more support groups or just like impact moms in a different way simply
Yeah.
by knowing what would help them. Because if you're feeling something, this is like the biggest false narrative I feel like in my own motherhood journey. It's like, well, I don't know if anyone actually feels the way that I do, and that is such a lie. And we're proof of that right now.
Right, right.
Susan, do you want to speak on that? Especially,
Yeah,
we talked yesterday about how like motherhood has changed so much and what community looks like.
yeah. Well, I'm sort of known for bad mouthing social media, so I won't start there. But I wanted, but I wanted to make two comments. One was when I had my children and I was working full time in the NICU, I would always go back to work at 8 weeks, which was way too early. But I had friends at work, other women pediatricians who were able to be my connection, my community. We were all married and had our babies at the same time, and we all went back to work too early because that's what you did back then. And so we managed to kind of hobble together a community. And when we were off, we hung out together and let the kids play and whatnot. And I had 3 kids when I was working full time in the NICU. And so that was my idea of community, my work colleagues, my work friends. Later, as my kids got older and I became more experienced in neonatology, I had developed an expertise in breastfeeding medicine and did a lot of NICU stuff to support breastfeeding moms in the NICU. And so, helping the perinatal social worker, Bridget, to help me set up a breastfeeding mom support group. And Hand to Hole was just getting started in the NICU. And so, this notion of supporting each other when we're going through something that's traumatic or difficult really was gaining some traction. I got so much personal support and reward from working with preemie moms and helping them to support each other. And I was a little pushy about it, because people are always timid to connect with somebody they don't know. But I can tell you the experiences of moms are really universal. Whether you're a preemie mom in the NICU, whether you're a new mom at home by yourself, whether you're a single mom, everybody that's like you is probably going through the same thing. And so it's really crucial to have even that one person, Chanel, as you said, or a few people that you can just commiserate with, because what we need as new moms is somebody to say, you're okay. You're doing a pretty good job. This is hard. This is really difficult. And don't be down on yourself. We all go through this, we all get through it. And to have somebody else around you to help you see that is just crucial. I mean, the connections, the community, however we do it, not on social media, that's the way we help each other and help ourselves.
I love that. And I also think social media has become such a deterrent for having in-person connection because I can
Mhm.
speak on behalf of my husband and I like to say like, oh, I'm fine with anybody coming over at any time. But the moment that I really think about them walking into my messy house, it's, how do you spend time outside of work together if you're not willing to have people come into that, messy, mundane. But Amber, did you want to share anything for that question?
Yeah. Sorry, my 2.5-year-old came in. My brain just fried a little bit. Okay, so when my son was 10 weeks old was when we started our process of moving to Japan. And so I went through motherhood as a brand new mom on the road. Like it was, we had a nomadic existence. So I did have my husband, but we were in San Diego for 8 weeks, and then we were in Phoenix, which that was with his family. But still not the same as it just wasn't the same because all of his siblings were on like their third kid and fourth kids and kind of forgot that, and like we were in motion, so there wasn't like a strong desire to deepen relationships at that time. And then we were in Rhode Island, and then we were back to San Diego, and then we moved to Japan. So the first 9 months of motherhood, the only support person that I had consistently was my husband. And so that's kind of driven a lot of my desire to like build community. And I've realized the power and importance of it because in that 9 months, then I had postpartum depression that got missed. And because I wasn't consistently seeing providers, like I saw a different provider for all of my son's well child visits. And um, I met with a therapist like virtually, and she was like, "Oh, well, with everything that you've had going on, it sounds like you're coping appropriately, and I don't think you need regular sessions." And I was like, cool. I'm standing at this thing sporadically crying. I don't think this is normal. And like I said earlier, we were in Japan, and so COVID in America ended the end of 21. We were still wearing masks in Japan until April of 2023. We got there in March of 22. So COVID was very much, Japan culture was very much like we are still proceeding very cautiously. So a lot of our time there was the base getting programs up and running again. And so now that I'm here and I'm on my third, and I see a lot of and we've started school, so now my community is starting to shift because now I have school drop off every day. So like I actually can't make the workout group because school drop off and workout group are at the same time. And so we're kind of in a different shift. And then the other, I've like become the wiser mom in that I'm on my third. And so they're like, how is it adding a third? How is it having a second child? What's the transition like? What advice do you have? Like that's kind of the role that I've fallen into. Um, I've also realized that having a therapist as part of your community is vital. Just having a outside perspective, non-bias that you can word vomit to. We talk a lot about helping my 4-year-old with his big feelings. So that's kind of what community has started to look like is I'm realizing that like one in the military, you only have each other. Like so especially you learn that overseas. My best friend from Japan is actually downstairs right now. I haven't seen her in 15 months, but we connected so strongly that we still talk like every day. So I've just kind of realized that it's a constant shift as we shift, like the people that you need, the amount of people that you need, what the community looks like changes. And then with being a military mother, being able to connect with other mothers who are solo parenting, um, is an absolute necessity.
Thank you, Amber. I don't want to be on here too much longer. I know that Bridget has a talk starting in about 5 minutes. So I did have one more question, and I love Bridget. Maybe if you could lead with this one, not leave, lead with this one. And then if you have to leave, feel free to do so. And we can continue the conversation for a few more minutes. But I'd like to know for a mother watching who feels isolated or unsure where to start, I think building community can sound so broad and kind of scary and terrifying because what does that even mean?
Hmm.
Um, what would you say is one low barrier practical action that she could take to start building a community that works for her in motherhood?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I feel like I'm going to answer it kind of specific to that like immediate postpartum, or say I like to think of it like the first year in particular. Um, just because I think that kind of similar to what Susan was talking about, it is just so like I often tell people like you don't have to find someone who's going to be your new best friend. You don't have to find someone who likes all the same things that you do or even is like aligned in all the same things that you are. But I really think that finding, especially early, first few years, really finding people who you can connect with who have children of similar ages is
Hmm.
and I really feel it even into later motherhood. Like I have friends,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
like walks of life, but the friends that I have who have kids of similar ages, I'm like, tell me, what are we doing right now? Like, how is this? Yeah. So I think that, you said low barrier. Obviously, there's so many different kinds of barriers depending on different situations of location and cost and ability to leave home and childcare and health, even, and all of it. So I think that even just starting with, say virtual connection, not necessarily through social media, but I always like to put in a plug for Postpartum Support International has support groups. They're happening every day of the week. They have so many, and they're most of them focused on pregnancy and postpartum. But they're for all different other types of issues as well, including loss and infertility and queer parents and Black parents and Spanish speaking. I mean, it's just like everything that you could imagine. So I often say, like, if there isn't a support group in your area, if there isn't like a group kind of like what Amber is, put together in your area, if you're in the middle of nowhere and you can't leave home, like at least try connecting with even just one person in one of these virtual groups. I think, like you were saying, Susan, it just makes all the difference of like, oh, someone else, maybe it's someone across the country who I'll never meet. Someone else feels this way. And like
Yeah.
I can hear my own experience in how they're talking about theirs. That I think is it can be life saving for people. So that to me is like my biggest recommendation, especially it all through parenthood, but particularly in that first year.
Thank you, Bridget. I want to piggyback on that a little bit. I two things. One, I love doing these video interviews with all of the speakers because it really gave me an opportunity to get past like the professional bios and everything and the application proposals and everything. And like I know Amber and we talked so long over video and it was just a breath of fresh air because even though my husband's not active duty, he is in the reserves. And so it was like, well, it's so nice to talk to you about like all of these very specific things that we happen to be going through. And Susan made a point earlier, and then I'll let you guys share whatever you want. But Susan made a point earlier about um, a different generational perspective. I have a handful of women that I've met through my church, um, and they are all of their kids are college age now. And they have been so encouraging to me. And so even though it's very beneficial for me to find people who have the same like age group of children, it also has been so beneficial to have those mothers who aren't my own mother, who are putting a hand on my shoulder and going like, "You're doing so good." Like, I can't believe how much she's growing. Like, I can't believe how much you've grown. Like, let's go on a walk, Let's go just walk the kid around the park anytime, and that's been really uplifting.
That's really wonderful. A friend of
Bridget, if you
mine,
need a sign off, thank you so much. I
oh,
appreciate it.
thanks, Bridget.
So,
A friend of mine at church, I know millennials and Gen Z are not very big on organized religion either. A friend of mine at church and I started a mom to mom group, and it was exactly that. It was older women who had raised their kids. Some of us were already grandmothers and younger moms. Our first group was they all had babies and toddlers, and our next group the next time we did it was kind of school age kids. And we got the biggest kick out of sitting there telling the younger moms, oh, yeah, we went through that too. Oh, yeah, here's how you can deal with that. Oh, yeah, have you thought about this? And what does your husband think about that? And it just was so much fun. And they all loved it. The younger moms loved it, hearing that there was some light at the end of the tunnel. It was a different kind of connection. It was almost like maybe you don't want to believe your mom or your mother-in-law, but this really nice lady at church or in your neighborhood, you kind of she's that third voice, and maybe what they're saying is really true. So I think there's a lot to be gained from young moms who are going through the throes of the fourth trimester, whether it's one kid, two kids, three kids, because they're all very different.
Yes.
You can get so much information from another person who's been through it. Amber, when I had my third, I was like thrown for a complete loop. I thought
Oh,
I had everything down pat with two, and we had a nanny, and my husband helped, and
almost.
everything was fine. And man, the third one came in, and I just wrecked me. I was just so
I know.
overwhelmed, and I had been able to handle everything before. And so, you know what I did? I called up somebody who had three children. And she said, and she, and I called up somebody who had four children. And they helped me see that what I was going through was kind of like normal and the way it was, and how you had to divide and conquer and all the things. But if I had just sat there and stewed in my own, oh no, I don't know how to do this, and or whined to my husband, I wouldn't have been able to get through it.
Yeah.
I literally got through it because I talked to other women who had had more than two kids.
Yep.
I think there's something so beneficial for not only seeking professional help, but
Yes.
know your audience, do your research, seek professional mom help as well.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
my friend Leslie, her third turned one in June, and so I also have the fun of I had two boys and then a girl. So I've
Uh-huh.
been like, girls are way harder to like wipe when you change their diapers. I wasn't expecting that. Um, my friend has got three moms. But the other thing that's been interesting is with George starting school full time, because San Diego has transitional kindergarten as part of the public school district, so he gets free preschool, which is saving my life because he's an extrovert. And like we've done some mommy dates now because now that he is away from me for 6 hours a day most weekdays, he's feeling that pull. And we did a bigger mommy date a couple weekends ago, and at the end he was like started acting out. I was like, what is going on? Like, you've been having such a good morning. And he was like, didn't want to go home. He didn't want the mommy date to end. And he
Oh,
said, I forget what he said now, but he said something, and I was like, it was one of those things where your kid just shatters your heart into a million
yeah.
pieces. And so I texted my friend Leslie, and she goes, "Yep, yep. You will never feel like you are gonna be enough for each of them. Like, it does
Mhm.
pass. You figure it out, but yep, that's the mom of three. Like, you just are,
Mhm.
you feel like there's not enough for you to go around."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just
It's,
the yes confirmation text
yes.
or comment. It feels like it really
Yes, like I
really does the
love
trick.
I love like it's funny that you Susan mentioned that you like have strong feelings about social media. 'Cause I also am like I want to be done. I want to throw this in the trash.
Oh,
I am so over. Like, I love the opportunities I've had to connect with people. Like, I'm in a Facebook group called Exhale Creativity.
hmm.
It's like create like they have a lot of different things for moms, and creating in the margins is kind of their thing. And like the women who I've interacted with and connected with through that are amazing. I've like Stroller Warriors uses Facebook to plan our events to meet in person. So like I love those aspects of social media, like opportunity for connection to then like let's now meet in person. But like I'm so over so much of the interacting through a screen, and I'm like, let's just go to a playground. I want to
Yeah.
see your face. I want to give you a hug. In a way that I didn't necessarily feel at different seasons.
I think knowing, and I think that's something that you kind of have to learn too with every season is like, what am I willing to put my energy into and what is depleting me of energy? That's like the one of the biggest questions. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Thank you so much. I feel like I could talk to you ladies forever. You're just so full of experience and compassion, especially for moms. And I'm looking forward to hearing everybody else's talk today. Again, if anyone is watching the replay and they need help accessing these resources, please look at the speaker pages or reach out to us about your ticket options. And we'd love to have you hang around. Thank you so much. Have a great day, ladies.
Bye.